Hey, what's up YouTube? Welcome to today's video. I know it's been a long time since I posted anything, and it's pretty much because I've been busy playing WoW Dragonflight, but I have been playing my fair share of PoE, and it has been quite a journey, and I am still on track to finding one of the great Sanctified relics left in the game, and that is an attribute stacking Sanctified relic. And I have a lot of experience with it. Now, there is some misconception going around that Venom Jar is bad for, for Sanctum, but that couldn't be further from the truth. The Venom Jar is probably one of the best Sanctum builds in my opinion, or any build that has like infinite damage potential that can be played at range is extremely good in Sanctum. Now, Sanctum overall is a very, very rewarding league just because of the Sanctified relic. And I think if you were to run Sanctum nonstop, it would probably be around 5 divines per hour, slightly little more or less. And I do think it's one of the best leagues that GGG have made, but there are a few changes that would make it a lot better. Now, I have been farming Sanctum like a madman, so my whole strat right now is pretty much some Alchemgo strat where I'm trying to do Shrans and Crimson Temples, get to the Sanctum, store the rooms, store a whole floor, and then run the floor. Now, I'm pretty much doing this because I'm trying to get an attribute stacking, Sanctified relic. However, this has been quite a challenge. Now, we go here, it actually will show you all of the mods that are on a Sanctified relic, and boy, oh boy, are there a lot. So, Sanctified relic, PoE DB is where you see a lot of this stuff. So, if we go look at here, Sanctified relic mods, there's a bunch of stuff. Now, these ones are not in the game yet, and these are corrupted, and supposedly they're going to be added in. But right here, you can see there's a bunch. There's like attack speed, critical strike chance for attack. So you can see there's different weightings for these. So there's 250 is the most common one. Then it goes all the way down to 150. And then some of the more crazy ones are 50 weighting, like ignite spread, freeze spread, shock prolif. And then here you go. There's more 150 and 50 conversions, also 50. But down here, we have the juice, right? These are the big ones. And these are the deck stacking ones and in stacking mods and strength stacking mods. If you go look through all of these, so you can see right here is in special relic, and this is at 200 weighting. I'm not really sure what that means. So these are 1000 weighting. So not really sure if that has any factor for how rare it is. So this is 200, and then this is like default 50. So some of the mods are extremely, extremely rare. I'm not really sure how many it would take to do in order to farm the one that you want. Now, Sanctum is a very interesting league because it is vastly different from what we are used to. This is pretty much one of the few leagues where your character's defenses really does not matter, and you are punished for getting hit by an auto attack from a mob that would normally probably barely do any damage to you. So you can be the tankiest build in the world, but still struggle in Sanctum if your build is melee and it gets hit a lot. Now, GGG has tuned Sanctum a bunch, and I do have to applaud them there to be more fair. So they've done a lot of stuff like gaining increases your maximum resolve, now heals your resolve by that same amount, increasing the pickup range of the coins, nerfing some of the guards to not be so crazy, and just a lot of different bug fixes. And Sanctum does feel a little bit better. I think they did make it a little bit easier so that your resolve is not so easily taken off. They did nerf a lot of the OP stuff that took a lot of resolve off. And overall, the community sentiment has been pretty good, but there are a few common complaints, and I do think that these 3 changes would really, really make Sanctum into one of my favorite leagues of all time. So number 1, we have increasing the number of rooms per map. Now, right now, we have to run 32 maps in order to run a full Sanctum. So for people who don't know, there's 8 rooms per floor and 4 floors. So this is one of the floors. You go all the way here, and this is the boss. I think this is the... Is this the third floor? I think this is the third floor. So each floor you go into, the better the rewards are. Now, 32 maps is a very, very long time. This really punishes people who do juice maps. So if you do maps like Deli Ort maps that each map takes around 10 minutes or 5 minutes to do, you're looking around like 10 minutes per map, 320 minutes. So that is around 5 to 6 hours of pure gameplay before you get to do one full Sanctum. And that's a crazy amount of time. So that means like people who do like doing non-Alchemgo content, you're probably only doing 1 or 2 Sanctums a day if you're playing like 8 hours a day, which is an insane amount. Now, Incursion only required 12 maps when it first came out. Nowadays, you can get up to 4 temples in your map, but before it was 1 in each map, and you need 12 total before you can do the full alpha temple. So 32 does seem like an absolutely crazy amount. Now, another thing is that a full Sanctum run currently is more than an Exarch or Eater rotation. So this is 28, and Maven is 10. So 32 is pretty much unprecedented in how long it takes, besides Cyrus. And Cyrus pretty much got nerfed because it took so long and people weren't really able to do it. Now, I do know a lot of people are trying to ask on Reddit if we could have 2 rooms per map. Now, I don't really know if it would break the mechanic. I do think that if you had 2 rooms per map, people would probably be spamming Sanctum nonstop, and it would probably result around 8 divines per hour or more just from putting in maps and running it nonstop. So the rewards might need to be tuned down a little bit, but maybe it's not that bad to have a league mechanic that offers super crazy rewards. So I do think that this is the number 1 complaint, and I think that the league mechanic would feel a lot better if we could do it a full Sanctum in 16 maps, and it would make farming a Sanctified Relic also a lot easier. Now, next up, we have storing more than 8 rooms. Currently, we can only store 8 rooms at a time, 1 full floor. And many people want to store 32 rooms and run a full Sanctum in one go. Now, this is pretty much like, it just feels like it breaks the flow of the game a lot. If you're doing a Sanctum and then suddenly you just have to leave after 1 floor, you kind of just want to be able to just get in that Sanctum mindset, do a full run of the Sanctum in one go, not have to break it up, and it just feels a lot better. Now, there's no reason why we should only be storing 8 rooms. I have no idea why GGG will want to do this, besides, I don't know. I have really no idea. They want us to split up our time between mapping and Sanctum so we don't feel like we're overdosing on one type of content. So maybe make the mechanic for storing rooms similar to Delve so we do not have to zone into a separate area in order to store a Sanctum room. Because right now it's pretty annoying. You go to a zone and then you, and then you go to the Sanctum room, and it's just super lame because you just can't click on something, and we even get automatically pulled into the room. So I wish it's something like the Azurite thing that you could just click on it, so you don't really need to have a separate loading area to go to a different zone, and it's super smooth. But I do think that allowing us to store a full Sanctum will definitely allow us to enjoy the Sanctum League a lot more. Now, next up is something that's not really that big, but it is something that kind of a big issue, is that right now the guard loot is a complete laughingstock, and it would be nice to see guard loot have some meaning. I do know that Chris in the podcast did say that the guards would drop something, but right now the guards pretty much drop absolutely nothing except like a chaos orb or a contract here and there. And player defenses are something that I feel like should be incentivized more in Sanctum. Currently, Sanctum revolves around 2 different metas. You have one, which is the meta where you have like totems, you use brands, or you use some sort of off-screen ability that allows you to just hide in a corner and have your totems kill everything. Or it leads to a glass cannon playstyle where you pretty much build a character with infinite damage and do the Sanctum. Now, if you don't believe me that getting a character with infinite damage makes a huge difference, all you have to do is get the boons that do you and your minions deal 50% more damage right here, Ornate Dagger, and you will instantly see that the Sanctum becomes infinitely easier when you have a lot more damage. So I do think that players shouldn't necessarily be punished for having a well-rounded character, because you do need a well-rounded character for mapping. So maybe having like armor, evasion, or block contribute to lowering the amount of resolve or inspiration you take. That could be a really, really good thing. And I do think that's something that they could look into perhaps changing in the future if Sanctum were ever to make it into the core game. Now, the loot is around 2 to 2.5 divines per Sanctum on average, so a buff to guard loot would probably not be grossly overpowered. And 2 to 2.5 divines is assuming that a character fully completes the Sanctum. Right now, there is a problem where the first 2 floors are extremely unrewarding compared to the last floors, so maybe if there's a way to maybe use the guard loot to balance out the loot disparity that you get, that would probably be a very, very good. Because I do know a lot of people do not really enjoy the league mechanic because they feel like they aren't really getting rewarded because the league mechanic is too hard. And I am a huge proponent of the league mechanic offering something of value for everyone regardless of their player skill. Now, Overall, I do have one last thought, and I put out a tweet about this. I didn't expect it to be so vitriolic in the responses, right? And I don't even know why people are so bad about Sanctified Relics being not tradable. So I just wrote, please make Sanctified Relics tradable. This would greatly help build diversity, improve the profit of farming Sanctus. People should run Sanctus because they're fun and rewarding, not because they're forced into it. And then you have just a lot of people say no. And then some people say really disagree with you, but not. And then you have Zizzer right here said hard disagree. And then someone wrote why though? Why not making tradable? And don't respond with GGG will make them difference. That's more rare. And then Zizren says, I mean, that's a huge argument. If something is soul-bound, you can give them more power. They're already insane. It's a great way to incentivize someone to make different builds depending on what they find. Now, I pretty much wrote this because I'm kind of selfish. I want Sanctified Relics to be tradable because I want to play in-stacking Wander with the in-stacking mod. Now, you might be wondering, like, is the Relic really that game-changing? The Relic is completely game-changing. And it's not like it's just like a tiny upgrade. This Relic right here, or these Relics right here, will actually double your damage. So people who say, oh, the Sanctified Relic is just a nice little bonus to your character, it really is not. It's completely build-enabling and downright broken if you can get it. So, I mean, this person is the reason why this person embodies what I say. It's also a great way of killing player enjoyment, forcing them to do content they don't like. And then right here it says it's not optional. That's the point. It's optional league content of a juicy reward that can help your build, help you start another. So it's kind of a little interesting argument going on here. And the main thing is the difference between Trade League and SSF. So a lot of people play SSF because you're forced to do league mechanics that you normally wouldn't do and that wouldn't give you that same enjoyment. But because it's SSF and there's no other way to obtain the items, so if you're playing SSF, you have to do heist to get your alternate quality gems. While normally in Trade League, if you don't like heist, you wouldn't be doing heist because you would just do a league mechanic that you enjoyed and then you would buy the alternate quality gem. Now, this is pretty much trying to force the SSF playstyle onto everyone in Trade League in order for the players to like a specific league mechanic more. Now, a better way of framing this issue is who actually benefits from the Sanctified Relics being non-tradable? And the answer is that no one really benefits from it because if you were to want to do the Sanctum to get it, you would already be doing it because you found the Sanctum enjoyable, and you would only be doing the Sanctum to get the Relic if you felt like you were forced into doing the Sanctum and you weren't finding it enjoyable. So overall, I do think that the Sanctified Relic should be tradable, although I can agree with people saying that that making it soulbound does incentivize people to do the league mechanic, but that does lead to a very slippery slope where in the future, why not just make every single league mechanic have a soulbound item? For instance, do you think Lake of Calandra would be more enjoyable if the reflected jewelry was soulbound? And I think the answer for most people is the league mechanic would not be more enjoyable. Would you find heist more enjoyable if the alternate quality gems were also soulbound? And it's the exact same thing. People will do the league mechanic if they find it fun and enjoyable, and I do think that Sanctum does fit that category. Now, the concept of soulbound items is also pretty interesting. I think that strong harvest crafts, one day GGG could experiment with this, could make an item be soulbound and not mirrorable. So, for instance, like, Reforged Key Prefix or Suffix or Aug Influence, those crafts could technically come back into the game if the items became soulbound. And I do think that maybe soulbound items could be something to shake up the game, but I do think that it leads to something really dangerous down the line. But overall, I do enjoy Sanctum a lot. Let me know down below if you agree with these changes. I did want to put the Sanctified Relics should be tradable in the top 3, but who knows? People just hate that idea too much. But buff guard loot, store more than 8 rooms, and increasing number of rooms per map to 2. And Sanctum is an extremely enjoyable league, and I really like it. And let me know down in the comments below what you think of Sanctum and if you're still playing. But thanks for watching. I hope you find more beers, divides, and exalts to me. And see you next time. Bye.